Hey everybody, this is ArtistryUnicorn, and today I am going to be making a tree, some pixel art tree for you, and it's not going to be perfect, but I mean, beginners aren't always making like beautiful pixel art right off the bat, so I mean, hey, it's going to be totally fine. Here I started making the outline of the tree, and this is the left side of the tree, and yeah, it's a pretty slow process. It's at the start I was getting a bit used to it after a little while of not doing pixel art, but I like this. I actually think this one turned out pretty good for, I mean, me having not made many pixel art stuff before. And there I was just trying to keep it loose because, you know, like tree branches or like tree trunks are pretty, like, not jagged but organic. So I was trying to just like do random quick strokes for the tree branch, and I think it actually turned out really good for being like so random. And then there I was like trying to get the basic shape of the tree foliage, so I was doing like several balls of like foliage, and then like I would later like detail them further, which I think that it ended up looking really good. And then here I started making a fourth one, and then I decided, like, obviously that looks pretty bad. So then I just kept on going for the tree trunk. And I mean, I went a bit simple with this one because, I mean, obviously trees have more branches than just two, and I think that their leaves, like their amount of foliage, is a bit larger in comparison to the trunk, because, like, you know, they're usually like really tall, or I mean most of them are pretty tall. So here I am working on getting the color for the tree trunk, and yeah, pretty much just coloring it in. And I started trying to do that for the outline, and I realized that I should just fill it in like that. And for this one I actually went with a pretty dark outline because I guess I wanted there to be like a large contrast in the tree branch, or tree trunk, sorry, so that like the shading would be a little bit easier to tell from the outline, since like the base color is already kind of dark. So then I had to make the outline a lot darker. And I would usually like, I mean, I would fill in those areas, but like sometimes it kind of messes it up and fills in other parts of it also, which I don't know if it would have done it at this point, but it does later on. So I kind of don't do the filling in very much unless it's just for like large blocks of areas that are already within an outline. Here I'm finding the color for the foliage, and I felt like that dark green was a bit too dark, and it just seemed kind of unnatural, kind of like fake. So then I tried to go with a lighter green, and that just seemed a bit strange still. So then even lighter, and then that looked really unnatural. So I went slightly darker, and I think that was pretty good. And then like with the shadows and everything at the end, it works pretty well. And I mean, I suppose it gets close to the original shade that I had there, but I think it's a little more natural. And there you see that I was filling in the outline and with just the bucket fill tool, and it filled in some of the outline of the tree, I suppose, because like the black and the dark outline of the tree are kind of similar. So then it turned the brown to green, and that happens so many more times in this video. It's just super annoying. So then I do it like I'm doing here, where I just fill in with the pencil tool, which does take a bit longer, but I suppose it gets rid of more of the noise. See, there it happened again with the dark green. And then, like, yeah, see, I did an undo there. I suppose I could have just gone with the color picker tool and just like not filled it in, but like taken the outline color and then just penciled it in there afterwards. And see, there it's starting to look a bit better. It's starting to look kind of more tree-like. Looking back at it now, I really do think that foliage was a bit small in comparison with the tree, but it's not too bad. It's pretty recognizable, obviously. I'm doing some shading, and there I was putting the arrow for the light source, which obviously you don't have to do, but I did it just because I wanted to make it clear, I suppose, which direction the light was coming from. And also, I'm kind of thinking now that I wish I would have done like more of an environment than just a tree, but I think it's kind of a good starting point to just start with something really basic and not have to worry about like grass and sky and stuff like that, which, I mean, they're a bit harder, I think, than trees, which, I mean, like even in this drawing like of a tree, it's obviously not as good as it could be, but it's pretty good, I would say, for a beginner. And there I'm doing the shading for the right side of the tree, and I just love the way I did the shading there. I think it looks amazing. And for a tree that small that I drew, like the pixel size or whatever, like the in relation to the canvas, I think is really good shading with the lines going across it to get that circular, I suppose, look to it, with instead of just doing like kind of block shading on the sides. And now I'm going to get the highlight color. Oh, nope. Shading. Lots and lots of shading. But after this, yeah, sorry I keep on scrolling back and forth, because like when I was making it, I just wanted to see how it looked further away, which I don't think is that bad of a habit to have. There we go. Now I'm doing the highlights, and just a little bit on this side, I think works pretty well, and it's pretty clear, I think, even though it's just a couple of pixels. And that about finishes the branches of the tree. And then I'll just move on to the foliage and define it a bit more with like specks and highlights of, like, you know, specks of different texture, I suppose, of the leaves. You know, like since obviously it's pixel art, you can't draw like each individual leaf, which, I mean, you're not even supposed to anyways, but like it's just kind of a way of showing that there are a lot more leaves, and it's less blocky that way, which I think is a pretty good approach to making trees, because like if I just left it like this, it would have been a bit simple, I think, which means it is simple, but it would have been more simple. And yeah. Also, this video is a bit long. If you don't like that format, just tell me down in the comments, and I'll make the next one a bit shorter if you want it like that. I don't think it's that bad this way, but I mean, whatever you guys want, I suppose. And there I was lightening up the shading and outline for the foliage to make it seem a bit more like blended, kind of blending into the lighter tone there a bit. And then I filled in the darker green in the background for just like some background foliage. And yep, there we're starting on the shadows for the leaves there. I think that it might have been a bit dark shadow to go with, but I did want kind of like a bit of a limited palette, I suppose, like less colors, because I only used like 4 browns and I think 4 greens for the tree. And like maybe it would have looked a bit better if I had used another green to either like blend into the darker shading, or just use a little lighter shading for the edges there. And I think that the on the left side, the bottom part of the foliage is a bit strange, I think, because it's a little bit wonky, because like I connected the shading on the edge of it to the shading behind the tree, and I'm not sure if that was a good idea. I think it kind of works, but I don't know. It looks a bit strange in my opinion. And there I am filling in little dots for the highlights on the individual leaves that you can't see because it's pixel art. And then I went and got the darker shadow area for the other specks of like the parts like behind where there like the leaves would part. You need to see like a part behind it where there's a darker shading. And yeah, for my first pixel art YouTube video, I think this went pretty well. The tree is not awful, and I mean, if you're like, oh hey, that's so bad, then I mean, yeah, sure, it might be, but like, I'll be better later on, next month, next week, I'll be better at pixel art. And I mean, hey, if you don't like these videos right now, you can just come back later, or I mean, you can just stay tuned and see me grow as a pixel artist, I suppose. Yeah, that's about it for today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, comment below if you liked this format. See you later, you little unicorns.